Connecticut Comrade, please discuss Indivisible's absurd endorsement card of Warren, a higher rated higher than Bernie Sanders on FP and grassroots support. I don't think she was rated higher. I thought they were rated the same.
Yeah, which is also true.
Which is equally as stupid. I haven't read. I frankly saw that they were rated equally on foreign policy, and therefore I won't be reading the score, and I would recommend nobody else waste their time. I mean, look, that's just absurd. I don't know what to tell you. That's on its face. If you think that somebody who voted against all three Trump military budgets versus somebody who voted for all three of them, that somebody who has clearly called the coup in Bolivia a coup, who has said we will use aid money clearly to leverage against Israel as it commits endless crimes and atrocities in Gaza, who called for freeing Lula, who has a foreign policy plan with regards to the Green New Deal, making it global, using it as a new pivot point with China and Russia, that talks about Africa as a partner and doesn't patronize it, which you can go and look at the CFR questionnaire. I mean, and yes.
Don't forget, she supports the coup in Venezuela.
And certainly supports coup mongering.
That's a pretty big deal breaker for me.
Well, without a doubt. And I mean, look, I think that the truth is that there are some people clearly who, look, they're comfortable. It truly blows my mind to see, some people, they rightly identify that Donald Trump is a horrific racist menace, but then they, for some reason, support his efforts to foment a coup in Venezuela. That will never be reconcilable in my head. But in terms of reality, if you care about a progressive foreign policy and if that's part of your calculation, there is literally one choice here. It's not even like it's not. And obviously, I think it's absurd to say they're the same thing on domestic policy as well. One is clearly better than the other in terms of reality. And I'm happy to have that argument. But on foreign policy, to rate them the same just means that you either don't know anything about foreign policy, or you're literally, I don't know, maybe you're rating it on website graphs. I really have no idea. And even this new thing, which actually we'll get to now, that they've just passed, Warren has come out against, but again, she's coming out against it in the context of voting for all three previous ones. And that's, sorry, that's the record. So Indivisible does good work. I'm glad that they've trained people. I'm glad that they've helped activate people. That scorecard is meaningless. And the same on grassroots support. I mean, are you kidding me?
It doesn't make sense no matter what ideology you're coming from, right? Because if you think the U.S. should play a more interventionist role in the world, you would say that Warren is better.
Well, maybe, yeah, maybe.
You would not say that they're the same.
And you look, maybe, as I say, maybe Indivisible has a more, maybe they want a more, extreme and aggressive approach. The reality is that if you don't come in with an attempt to change foreign policy structure, you are going to replicate. And there is zero sign that there is going to be anything other than replication, regardless of what the rhetoric is. And you already see it. I mean, you see it in the voting record and you see it in the policy proposals. There is not a single area that Warren has come out on, whether it's restarting the deal with Iran, whether it's holding Israel accountable, whether it's even having the beginnings of a strategy for containing the global far right. She's got some good stuff on trade, but Bernie's been there for decades. So, sure, if you want to give them both an A on that, fine, I guess. But besides that, the differences are stark and clear. And if you're progressive, there's really nothing more to say about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible that she just hasn't thought that hard about it, and absent that will default to the opinion of the Democratic establishment, which is bad. Or it's possible that she has thought about it and she just agrees with them. But either way, the outcome is very negative.
I mean, look at staffing. Her prime foreign policy person is a former aide, I believe, to Ash Carter, I think, at the defense. And Matt Duss is somebody who's worked consistently inside a Washington context to try to shift the game on foreign policy. And obviously, Bernie's been thinking about this stuff going back to protesting the Vietnam War, which it's like, and by the way, that's a good thing. It's good that he's been clear about these things
Do
forever.
we want to just take a time to read what they actually wrote about this?
Sure. Let's do this.
You want to read this? I'll find the one for Bernie. What did you do?
This is.
So here's the foreign policy section. So overall of her policy platform, they gave her a 94%. This is very quantitative.
But it's so silly.
And it gives different scores on different things.
All right, let's see. On foreign policy, what does it say? Senator Warren has received a good score in foreign policy and national security, including full commitment for committing to repeal the open-ended 2001, 2002 force authorizations, which have been used to wage wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, Afghanistan, and beyond. She's received support for supporting to rejoin the Iran nuclear deal and making a firm commitment to restoring American diplomacy. That last part doesn't mean anything. She lost points on the open-ended section because she did not provide enough detail on how she might advance a more progressive foreign policy. So, okay, so the Iran thing, with the exception of Booker, I think, and maybe also Harris, Booker is actually the only one who said he wouldn't rejoin the deal. Bernie's the only one who took an incredibly brave vote in 2017 to not sanction Iran. He was the only member of the Democratic caucus to not sanction Iran, which is the practical step of how you save the deal. And Warren has spoken of rejoining it and correctly criticized Trump, but also included Iran in her critique, which in the context narrowly of the deal is absurd. We broke that deal. The Iranians were in full compliance. And to the extent they've stepped out of it, it's because we have flagrantly broken it and threatened them every step of the way. So look, but again, she repeats a lot of kind of conventional talking points on that stuff.
To their credit, they do give Bernie 3% more on the overall policy platform thing, but we can skip down to the foreign policy here.
Yeah, we'll just stick with foreign policy. Sanders received the highest score of all candidates for his position on foreign policy and national security.
Well, he tied with Warren. It looks like they wrote this when somebody who assumed that they were going to make the right call here wrote this copy before they knew what Warren was graded at.
Right. He committed to repealing open-ended in 2001, 2002 use of force authorization to progressive diplomacy and restoring U.S. global leadership. He's also recognized non-military foreign threats that we face as a nation, offered a plan to address them. That last part is a relatively decent point. I mean, I remember in 2016, Sanders talked about climate as a security threat, and everybody looked at him like it was bizarre. Now it's pretty commonplace. I will say with most of these, I mean, this is a problem also just with the score here. There's nothing on Latin America. There's nothing on the Caribbean. There's nothing on Africa. There's nothing on even just like the broader strategic dimension of a new relationship with China, which nobody, including Sanders, has spoken about or articulated enough, although his Green New Deal is the most constructive step in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, the way that it mentions leadership and not any sort of internationalism is really the tell here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.